In this episode of our series, we'll explore how humans use land, investigate environmental impacts of deforestation, explore all the problems caused by this loss of trees, and why peat bogs are environmental superheroes. Humans use absolutely enormous amounts of land for countless different purposes. We need land for building homes and infrastructure, quarrying materials for construction, farming to produce food, and creating landfill sites for waste disposal. Essentially, we've turned Earth's surface into our personal, multi-purpose playground, leaving less room for other organisms. As our population grows and demands more resources, we claim increasingly more land for human activities. This expansion means other species must squeeze into ever smaller spaces. Sometimes our land use has particularly damaging environmental effects. This is especially true when it involves deforestation or the destruction of special habitats like peat bogs, nature's own carbon storing time capsules. Deforestation is the large scale cutting down of forests. While small-scale, managed tree harvesting can be sustainable, the massive destruction of forests, particularly tropical rainforests, causes serious environmental problems. Why does deforestation happen at such alarming rates? The primary reason is clearing land for agriculture, including cattle ranches and crop cultivation like soya beans, to feed our ever-growing global population or crops for biofuel production. Forests are also harvested for timber used in construction, paper production, and various wood products. Unfortunately, deforestation causes multiple environmental problems. First, it dramatically reduces the amount of carbon dioxide removed from the atmosphere through photosynthesis. Trees are nature's carbon vacuum cleaners, efficiently absorbing CO2 and using it to build their wooden structures. Trees lock up carbon in their wood, where it can remain stored for centuries. Think of them as biological carbon prisons. When forests disappear, we lose this crucial carbon capture system that's been working perfectly for millions of years. Additionally, burning trees to clear land releases stored carbon back into the atmosphere as CO2. It's like opening all the prison doors at once. Carbon that was safely locked away suddenly floods back into the atmosphere. Microorganisms decomposing dead wood also release CO2 through respiration. Even after the chainsaws stop, these tiny decomposers continue pumping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, making deforestation's impact long lasting. Another devastating consequence of deforestation is the loss of biodiversity. Forests, especially tropical rainforests, contain mind-boggling numbers of different species, from massive trees to tiny insects. When forests are destroyed, countless species lose their homes, and many face extinction, particularly those adapted to specific forest conditions. Imagine bulldozing an entire city and expecting all residents to just find somewhere else to live. That's essentially what we're doing to forest inhabitants, except they can't simply rent a flat elsewhere. Now let's explore peat bogs, nature's underappreciated carbon storage facilities. Peat bogs are waterlogged wetlands where dead plants don't fully decompose due to oxygen poor conditions. Instead of rotting completely, these plants accumulate over thousands of years, forming thick layers of peat. This process is incredibly important because carbon from dead plants gets stored in peat rather than released into the atmosphere. Peat bogs are essentially Earth's carbon savings accounts, holding more carbon than all the world's forests combined. However, humans drain peat bogs for farmland or dig up peat for fuel and garden compost. We're using peat much faster than it forms, and it's contributing to climate change. Draining peat bogs triggers a carbon catastrophe. Once exposed to air, microorganisms begin decomposing the peat, releasing stored carbon as CO2 through respiration. Burning peat as fuel releases even more CO2, whilst destroying these unique habitats eliminates countless specialized species. It's an environmental double whammy, increasing greenhouse gases whilst reducing biodiversity. Understanding these impacts helps us appreciate why sustainable land use matters enormously. Both forests and peat bogs play irreplaceable roles in regulating Earth's carbon cycle and supporting the incredible diversity of life on our planet.